All right, what's up guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out Black Yellow Luffy. If you have not checked out my last two videos, definitely check those out. They're going over Red Yellow Sabo and Blue Yellow Ace. So those are the other two brothers if you're interested in what those do. But today we're going over Black Yellow Luffy. Just to give it kind of a layout of the video, we're going to be checking out some decks from over in the East that did well back in OP06 in the format we're in currently for Black Yellow Luffy. And then we're going to check out some games on the sim of me running the deck with no EB01 or OP07 cards. And then we're going to talk about it at the end. We'll do some last thoughts, in conclusion style, rant at the end of the video. Okay, so you know what you're getting into. Real quick before we even dive into Luffy, I do have to at least give you guys a heads up. May 3rd, mark it down in your calendars. We're going to be getting EB01 to, we're going to have access to the EB01 cards. So, that's a date to, definitely mark that in your calendar. And it is very appropriate to today's video because Black Yellow Luffy, when he gets access to one of the 2K counters in in EB01, it takes the deck to like another level, not to the highest level. It needs OP07 to get to the highest level we know it can get to yet, but there is a very, very important 2K counter in EB01 called Flampy that once we get access to that, it takes this deck to another level. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. Y'all know what you're getting into, like I said. And first we're going to read the leader, and then we're going to go over a few decks. We're going to talk about we're going to kind of do a deck analysis, deck tech to see what makes this leader function and work and just pop off the way that it should. So by the rules, your face-up life cards will be sent to the bottom of your deck instead of your hand. Notice that. That's the very first part here. And he's a 5,000 power 4-life leader like usual. That's a very standard dual color leader's stat lines. He's Supernova and Straw Hat Crew, but that's not super relevant to what we're trying to do. But notice that very first clause, guys, that very first status effect there, whatever you want to call it, that's just like a permanent effect in the game now. By the rules, your face-up life cards will be sent to the bottom of your deck instead of your hand. So we need to find a way to cheat those into play. And we already know that the 2-cost characters do that, right? That's a big part of it. So next up, Dawn ×2 activate main. That's very nice, so they can't stop you. Like if they have something that makes it where your leader can't unrest, or if your leader can't become active, or if it can't attack, it can still use this leader effect, which is very important. But Dawn ×2 activate main once per turn. You may discard 1 card from your hand, and then if your life is at 0 cards, you may add up to 2 cards with cost 5. So exactly 5 cost characters from your hand or trash to your life face up. That's important that you do from your hand or trash, because if you need to trash a card and still use a card from your hand, you can do that. That is an option with this effect. But notice you do have to be at 0 life, and the card has to cost 5. Remember, just like with Ace. Ace had the same kind of stipulation where your life has to, or excuse me, the cost of the character has to be 5. So let's go ahead and take a look at this first list here. Just give you guys a heads up. We're over on OnePieceTopDecks.com. We're not going to go through all these decks. We're just going to look at the first and last one, and then we're going to look at some decks that are actually in OP07. These are OP06 legal decks right here. Some of them do have EB01 cards. I will give you a heads up on that. But this first one has no EB01 cards. So this is kind of where the deck started off over in the West, or excuse me, over in the East, before it evolved into what it is now. Very straightforward. It's running 4 Sabos. It's running it's running all 4 of the little 2-cost guys, right? And then it's running all 4 of Ace, the Yellow Ace, Yellow Luffy, and Black Sabo. But then it's running 2 of the other ST13 starter aces that that come in that deck. Then as far as it has 4 Garps and 4 of the 3 brothers, or 2 of the 3 brothers Bond for searchability, for consistency. And this deck is even running the 2K counter package in the beginning was a little bit off. They weren't sure how to make things function, because I will say Makino comes in ST13 in the starter deck, and I think it is better than running some of these other options like 200 million Voltamaru, Elthor, and Toy Soldier. I think Makino is just strictly better for what we're trying to do in this deck, because remember, our leader effect is turned off until we have 0 life. We need to have 0 life, and then we can throw cards back into our life with our leader's effect, so that we can get value from them with the little versions of the cards. And notice something, guys, this deck is not even running Gecko Moria, because in the very beginning stages of this deck, when they were trying to figure out how it works and how to make it work the best and how to make it function the best, they hadn't figured out, like, oh, wait a minute, I can run Gecko Moria and bring all of these 2-cost guys back to get further effects with them, you know, to keep the game going on and keep the combo going. Instead, they were kind of hiding behind defenders and just trying to go big a few turns in a row, and then that was that. You know, you get what you get kind of thing. But as the lists go on, as people started figuring out how the deck was going to function, this is the most recent one from OP06 before they transitioned into OP07. And they did get EB01 cards at this point, I believe, but there aren't any in this deck, so you'd be able to run this. Excuse me. So check this out, guys. It's still running. The Hiyori card for the 2K counter is just staple. It's just extremely powerful because what you can do, and this applies to any of the three brothers. This card here can be used in any of the, and should be used, I would argue it should be used in all of the three brothers decks, because what you can do is you can set your top life card, right? You know, early on in the game, you can set your top life cards, let's just say ace or something, and then play out the ace, and you know it's on top because you used Hiyori's effect. Now, one thing I should mention, when it comes to Luffy, if you have a card that is face up in your life and you try to use Hiyori, it won't work. It will not work because you cannot add a card to your hand from your life if it is face up. Now, if it's face down, it doesn't matter. But if it is face up and you try to Hiyori to bring it back to your hand to trade it out with another card, you cannot do that because of what the leader says. By the rules, your face up life cards will be sent to the bottom of your deck instead of to your hand. So it doesn't matter if your opponent attacks you. It doesn't matter if your opponent deals 1 damage to you, like with reject, for example, or if you try to draw the card. If it is a face up card in your life and you try to add it to your hand, it will not happen. It will not work. So just to give you guys a heads up on that. Okay, and if you have any comments or questions, suggestions, you know, please put those down in the comment section below. So as you can see, everything was pretty much the same here. This is a nice 5-cost character, by the way, that you can add to life if you're in a pinch, right? If you just need to add a card to life, you know, to survive the next attack from your opponent. But it's just really a 2K counter in the deck that has the added utility of being able to go to your life from your leader's effect. Satori's another very good card for that same kind of action, because they're both 5-cost 2K counters. Really nice 2K counters. But adding Gecko Moria to the mix, let me talk about this for a second, and then we'll move on to the decks we see over in the East and how refined the list is. Gecko Moria, this card here, on play, choose up to 1 cost 4 or less, so it could be a 2-cost, and up to 1 cost 2 or less character card from your trash, and play one of them, then play the other one rested. So here's the idea. Typically what you're going to do is you're going to try to get down to 0 life by using your 2K counter utility and just by taking hits from your opponent. And there are other cards as well that help you lose life, like the Sabo here and like the Luffy right here. They allow you to literally just lose life, and that's good because we want to get to 0. If we can't get to 0 by ourselves, a more competent opponent can say, okay, I'm not going to let you get to 0 until I fill out the whole board and then just run you over before you can defend yourself. That's what a good player will do, right? Well, that's where the 2K counters come in. We're going to talk about one in a minute called Flampy, and Makino for that matter. Excuse me. These cards say, oh, you're not going to let me take my own life? Well, I can actually do that myself then. Because notice what Hiyori says. Like, yes, you can set your life if you want to, but you can just put the top or bottom card of your life into your hand. And then you don't have to do the effect, because it says you can put up to 1 card from your hand on top of your life stack. So you could just take a card from the top or bottom of your life with Hiyori's effect. That is very, very important for what we're trying to do with Black Yellow Luffy, guys. Very, very relevant. And then once you get these cards, once you get down to 0 life and you start filling your life with these 5-cost cards like Sabo and Ace, well, then you're going to follow up by playing the 2-cost guys, right, and getting full value from them. Well, what happens when you run out of these? When you run out of the 2-cost guys? That's where Gecko Moria comes in and shines, right? Because Gecko Moria says, okay, and notice he's exactly 8-costed, or he costs exactly 8, and the effect for Luffy costs exactly 2. So if you use, let's just say you did Sabo and Ace last turn, right? And now they've been KO'd because you had to defend with Sabo, and they KO'd your Ace. No problem. Attach 2 to your leader, put those cards back into your life, if you're at 0 life, of course, and then play out Gecko Moria to put those 2-cost guys back into play and play them straight back out, and now you're back in the game. And you establish a 9,000 power body, your leader's 9,000 base power for the turn, because please read these cards, guys. Like, please read these little 2-cost cards if you are not aware what they do. Very, very important to knowing how to function, or how to make the deck function. Okay, now real quick, we are going to go over to the OP07 format, and we'll just look at like whatever deck won the biggest tournament on here. This one, 156 player tournament, 9-0, and this is OP07, right, guys? So I'll explain the cards we don't have access to yet and how it all works. And for the most part, all of these decks you'll see are almost completely the same. There's just a few exceptions. Actually, I think this one was right before OP07. I think this was EB01 before OP07, because they're not running the new Luffy card. And I'll explain that in a minute. And it's still running 2 Great Eruptions. But the cards that we get in EB01 is Flampy. This card right here, it is a 1-cost 2K counter. It's a 1-cost 1,000 power card. That doesn't matter. And it's a 2K counter. That does matter. But then on play, you may add 1 card from the top or bottom of your life cards to your hand and draw a card. That's very, very important for what we're doing. Makino, same thing. That's from ST13. It's not the exact same, but you can add the top or bottom card of your life to your hand and then look at your life cards, then return them in any order. So that allows you to set up for your small characters early on to get more and more cards out of your life efficiently. And then, of course, you fall back on your final solution game plan here. Not the best choice of words, but your final answer here is to drop down Gecko Moria, and that allows you to bring the cards back. You know, that's your coup de grace, so to speak, in this deck, where you can just bring everything back, go combo crazy, and your opponent has to attack into a 9,000 power leader. Okay, now moving forward, though, let's go to the next biggest one here. This is 130 players of this one. It says 5-on-5. I'm not sure what that really is saying, but let me see. Yeah, this is what the deck looks like. I think this is the final form of this deck, and I think there is some room. I think there is some room to, you know, how do I say this? I'm sure there's some way to improve the deck, to add tech choices and whatnot. But for the most part, this list is it, guys. This is the final list right here. Just like how Sakazuki got to the point where like the whole list was pretty much finalized, but a few cards could be kind of swapped in and out. This becomes the card here. This Luffy, this is from OP07. Activate main, trash this card if you have 2 or less life, and KO up to one of your opponent's characters, and then draw a card. Trigger, KO 4 or less. This card became very, very strong for what they were trying to do with Black Yellow Luffy. Helps get rid of the little stuff off the board while you're drawing cards. Get rid of blockers and stuff like that with an effect like this. And it doesn't make you trash a life like the Sabo does, the 5-cost Sabo. Some people might think it's better to trash a life, and sure, you might have an argument there. In certain situations, it is better. But in this specific situation, or like not in this, excuse me, there's no real specific situation. As a general rule, this is just a better, stronger card than the 5-cost Ace for 2 reasons. Number one, you're not forced to trash a life card. Now, yes, the 5-cost Ace does hit a 5 or less, and this hits a 4 or less, but this one draws a card, and the most important part of it is it's a Luffy. Sabo, this 5-cost Sabo, the Black Sabo from Dressrosa Revo Army stuff, this is like one of the most powerful cards in the entire deck, because it's letting you cycle through your deck to get to more of your Gecko Morias. And that is more important than it sounds, because after you run out of Gecko Morias in the late game, you're out of gas. You're all out of luck, right? You're all out of luck. And a card like Sabo helps you get to more of those, and it helps you cycle more of these cards into your trash that you can recycle with Gecko Moria. Like, you'll be able to trash the Luffys or the Aces or whatever, and just use the Gecko Moria to get them back. It's very, very important. And with Luffy being a 5-cost card like this, that can also double over as removal. Well, now we can use a card like, you know, the 2-cost Luffy instead of the 2-cost Sabo to force some kind of removal. Hopefully that made sense. If you have any questions, please you know, put it down in the comment section below. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. This is, you know, this deck is a lot of fun. It's probably my favorite deck currently. So let me go ahead and hit play. We got the volume off. We should be in 2x speed. We are. And we are off to the races here. We're good to go. Oh, almost forgot to move the camera. There we go. Got the camera over here. Oh, there we go. Right. It's like jumping around on me today. Okay, good enough. All right. So, guys, this is against Katakuri. So this is definitely like a good good matchup for any deck. Katakuri is very strong. And I am only running, remember, for this video, and I'm going to show the deck list at the end of the video, I am only running cards that are ST13 and before. Like, no EB01 in this list, no OP07. I don't know if my opponent is doing the same thing, but I am at least on that, you know, card restriction. Okay, so let's see what he does here. He's determining if he wants to attack into me or not. I do have that 2x speed, right? Let me make sure. Speed, yes. Okay, so I do take the life pretty aggressively because I want to get down to 0 life comfortably, and I want to be able to start gaining momentum from my little 2-cost guys. So I'm going to swing 5 into his Parasparrow. I just want to get cards out of his hand. That's fine with me. And I'm actually going to go face here. He thinks I want to take out his Parasparrow. I didn't. I just wanted to get him to use cards out of hand and let him keep... I want him to think his board is going to get so big where he can just run me over, but he can't. You just simply can't. That's just how Black Yellow Luffy works. You do not go for board control. You do not go for board control. You actually go for like a late game presence. Now, you can probably build the deck a little bit differently. Everyone's going to have their own version of the deck. But this version here says, I don't really care what's on your board until it gets to be like a 9,000 power and bigger character. So I'm going to swing 7 at face. He blocks out. I'm going to go ahead and trash a Sabo from my hand. I trashed both Sabos from my hand there with the leader's effect. And then I go ahead and play out my 2-cost Sabo, the 2-cost Sabo twice here. And now I've got 2 Sabos on the board. So 2 blockers. I have 9,000 power on my character. Like my leader's 9,000 power. I have 2 blockers that cannot be KO'd. And what is my opponent going to do now? Because I have 3 relevant bodies on the board as well if I want to swing for lethal. He just swung 6 into me. This guy, I mean, there's going to be new play. Hey, that's another reason to play these decks at locals, like these new leaders at locals. People are going to have no idea what they do. Like, or maybe he was trying to just see if I would, you know, make... Sometimes people do that on the sim. They're like, let's see if this guy even knows what his own leader does. So right there, I go ahead and use a 2K counter. I probably shouldn't. I probably should have used Garp, to be completely honest. But at the same time, see, here's where you have to be so careful when you're playing the deck. You need to try and not Garp too much. And the same thing with the 1-cost event, if you don't already have a Gecko Moria in hand. Because if you skip over Gecko Moria, you're in deep, deep trouble. You know what I mean? You're not in a good position. So I use out Garp here. And if he takes this, it's actually going to determine what I want to do from here. He does take it. Okay, he takes the card, so now it's like, okay, do I try to go for lethal? Because that's a real possibility, right? Because I could go swing, I have 8 Dawn left, so I could go 3, 6, no, I could probably only go like 8, 8, 8, something like that, or 8, 8, 9, something like that. So it's like, no, let me just play this safely. Let me play out Ace. Let me play out the Luffy. I'm going to swing 9, and then I'm going to swing 11 with my leader. That's massive, right? He has to counter out of this or he's gone. And I guess he was able to counter out, but now I pass back. And it's like, okay, what are you have to swing 9,000 power into me just for me to, just to elicit a response from me. Swings 9. Okay, well, here's a 2K counter. And notice I'm running Khalifa. I'll explain that at the end of the video. Khalifa is just a 2K counter that is also a built-in cycle like Sabo. That's kind of why I have that there. Okay, so I just countered out of everything, and I still have my blockers. It is over, and I top decked a Gecko Moria. If I could have ended the game right here, getting that Gecko Moria was just massive. I guess it wasn't too good. Actually, let me. He just gives up. It wasn't the best thing in the world because I will say you have to have a card to trash with your leader's effect. Okay, so he had a bunch of duds in hand. He didn't have any counter power left after defending that 11K attack. But he's not going to be able to survive this anyway, right? The first was a 9K, then it was going to be another 9, and then 9. Yeah, it was just going to be 9s across the board or 7s across the board. Very, very powerful. Okay, let's go to the next game. That was Katakuri. Now we have Blurple Kaido. Sorry, guys, this one's probably more of just a funner matchup here. Because again, I don't get to pick my opponents, and I try to just get this, get as many games done as fast as possible so I can keep these videos rolling for y'all. Get a video out every single day. Okay, so I start off with the Garp search. I was whenever I have Gecko Moria in my hand in the beginning, in the opener, I feel very comfortable. Because otherwise, if you don't have Gecko Moria in your hand and you start using Garp, you can go over the Gecko Moria when you're searching, and that feels horrible. That feels absolutely terrible because you're like, oh, I might not get another one, right? Okay, so I used Makino to set my top card. Like there was already an ace in my life, so I made sure that was the top card, and then I played out the 2-cost ace, busted out the character ace to swing 7, and then I swing 8 with the leader. He's at 2 life. I'm in pretty good shape already this game to to take this. And this is kind of an example. Oh, let me 2x speed it. Sorry, guys. Oops, did I hit it? I might have missed it. Yep, no, I got it. And the volume's off. Good. This is a good example. Like, this deck can be pretty aggressive. Like, it's not that you're trying to go for aggression. It's just that it can be pretty aggressive. See, like right here, by the way, like notice I have the 5-cost Sabo. I could have used Sabo here to like KO his guy, but then I'm just left totally vulnerable. It's like in this situation, I would rather just always have the 5-cost Luffy that KOs a 4 or less, even though it can't even hit the 5-cost character on the board. I'd rather have that card because, like in this situation, for example, I could just KO that 4-cost ulti or the 2-cost blocker Duval and draw a card in the process. It's just nice. And this was not a great pull too. I think this is a good example of how the deck. I've heard people say the deck is not consistent. I don't know. Even with a pull as bad as I just had without a single 2-cost guy outside of the 1 ace that I had, like this was not a good pull. Like, let me just say that. Okay, so swing 7. Let's see what he gives me. He's going to give me this guy, and I think that was a mistake. He probably, yeah. Okay, so he should have did Duval first, and then I wouldn't have done that last attack. But knowing how that just went, it's like, okay, then I'm just going to play out I'm going to play out the Sabo. So Hiyori, set my top life card as Sabo, and play out the 2-cost Sabo, crack it open, cycle some cards out of my hand I don't need. That's the hardest part about playing this deck, guys, is determining what you do and don't need the next turn, and that depends on what's already in your trash and what you have in your hand, and whether or not you have Gecko and Moria coming or not. So I set these cards at the top. I was actually expecting to take a life this turn, and that's why Ace is up there. But at the same time, if I don't take life, I could play out Gecko Moria and bring back an ace. So there was a lot of, I had a lot of options there. And he didn't even attack because I'm at 7,000 power leader. So I just swing it for 7, and it's like, okay, if you're going to take that. It took me a second. I'm like, should I just go 7, 7, and then 13? And the answer is yes. So he just gives up there. I should have just gone 7 on Sabo, 7 on Sabo, 13 on leader. Right, so 1, 1, 8, and then there's no way you're defending out of that, right? Because it would cost you 2 4 cards just to defend out of the 7, and then he would have 4 cards left to defend out of a 13. Well, that would have to be 2 4 6 8. That couldn't do it, right? Because that would put him at exactly 13 if he had all 2K counters for that. So just not realistic. Okay, last deck here, or last game we're playing against is Black Yellow Luffy, a little bit of a mirror match. Let me put in 2x speed. This is one of my favorite decks, guys. I have to say, like, this deck here, I just really enjoy it. Number 1, it's running my card pool that I enjoy, the black-yellow card pool. And number 2, it is like this really, I don't want to say big brain, like I said that with blue-yellow ace yesterday, which I do think that deck is very complicated to run at the highest levels. Like, it has a lot of options. It's a very witty deck. But black-yellow Luffy, I think it is a very high skill level deck. Like, you need a very high skill level to operate it, to pilot it correctly. And it rewards that skilled play, right? And then it does have the ability to just go combo crazy. So that was just really unfortunate. I played out the Monkey D. Luffy there to draw a card from my life, and the card that it trashed from the top of my life was a Gecko Moria. That felt horrible, but I do have 3 Sabos coming up, right, that are going to help me get to later in the game. So my opponent here swings at me for 8. I'm pretty cool with that. I take that gladly. He's probably not going to attack again. Guys, this is one of the most intricate mirror matches you could possibly have. Like, I remember Sakazuki. Sakazuki and Rebecca were very intricate mirror matches, but this one, guys, Black Yellow Luffy versus Black Yellow Luffy is extremely complicated. I mean, it is extremely complicated. So right here, I'm debating whether or not I should use the Luffy's effect, which trashes your top life card to draw a card from your deck. I do it anyway. I'm like, okay, let's do it. I swing in for 8 here, and I've got a blocker. I've got 1 life, and I have a lot of cards in hand. Not many 2K counters, though. I only have 1 2K counter in hand, which is crazy. I run 12 2K counters in the deck. Sometimes you just don't draw them. And, I should say, I did use a Makino, to draw one from, to draw a card from life, and I played out a Khalifa to cycle more cards out of my hand to look for better options. So he swings into my Luffy there. I'm kind of okay with this, to be honest, But I could use this opportunity to fill up my trash with these 2-cost guys. But I'm like, but at the same time, I do remember I just got rid of a Gecko Moria, and I've done I've cycled through so many cards with these Sabos. It's like, okay, I need to be careful, and I need to use these Sabos in my hand to draw more cards. Okay, so he kept me on 1 life there, which was very, very smart, but I'm not going to let him get away with it. I'm going to bust out Makino here to draw my last life card. Now I'm going to put 2 Sabos into my life, and I've got 2 of the 2-cost Sabo cards that I'm going to start cycling like crazy with. I need to get to a Gecko Moria if I want to win this game. That's at least my thought pattern, my thought process right now. It might not be 100% true, but that's the logic behind what I'm doing right here. Okay, I just keep trashing these Luffys because at this stage of the game, pretty much your best cards are Luffy and Ace. I would say those are your best 2 cards. Or excuse me, Sabo and Ace. Excuse me, I had that totally backwards. So I swing 7 at leader, swing 11 at leader, and let's see what he has for me this turn. I feel pretty safe here. I've got 3 Sabos. I'm at 9,000 power on my leader. He has to... This is his turn to Moria. If this... Yeah, and there it is. Yeah. Being able to Gecko Moria like this is... It puts you in a pretty nice position. Okay, but let's see what he does. He plays out the Ace, plays out the Sabo, excuse me. His board is totally safe right now. He swings 7 into my Khalifa. I don't care at all about that. Right here is a good, you know... I need to actually block with my Sabos so I can bring more of them out of the trash, right? That's what I'm going for here. Because I only have 1 Sabo and 1 Ace in the trash, or I only have 1 Sabo in the trash now. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, how do we do this? How do I win this game? And so I trash an Ace from hand. I play out because I had another Ace in hand, and I play out the Ace and the Sabo from life, bringing my leader back up to 9,000 base power for the next turn. And now it's like, okay, he only has 1 blocker. So we're going to swing 11 and 11 at him here and see what he can do on the crackback. So I swing 11 at face here. He counters out. Very nice. But I'm still going to swing 11. And he used every card in his hand. Now that was a mistake, right? He should have blocked out with the Sabo because he has a full board. Okay, swing 11. Okay, this is a good... I can 2K, 1K out of this, or make him use more cards from hand. I'm like, use more Dawn, so he can't like pile everything up. So I'm gonna use the first blocker because I have a Sabo in hand. But right here, I'm gonna give him a 2K, 7 into 7. You can have that all day. I'm not gonna. There's no reason for me to defend my cards that are on the board. There's just no reason for it. Okay, realistically, he doesn't have another attack. He'll have to load everything on his leader and swing face, and that will only be 10. And I can easily 2K counter out of that. And it's like, now he has to trash his last card just to gain 2 life. That's where the Satori comes in nice, by the way. Satori is very nice there. But look at this. Okay, pause. He is a 5,000 power leader. If you cannot buff your leader to like if you can't use the 2-cost guys to buff your leader, you are feeling very vulnerable. He has no cards in hand. I have 4 attacks. He has no chance. I'm gonna swing 5 because that's gonna make him use his blocker, or he loses, or loses 1 of the life cards. And then he did that correctly, by the way. He did that to try to get me to attack into his blocker, but it's not happening. I'm just going to end the game right here. Game over. That is a very... Whoops. Let me pause on the very end part here. This is a very intricate mirror match, and it'll literally make your head hurt sometimes, I think. But I finally got... Look at that. I finally got Gecko Moria at the very end there. So if he did have a better play than he had last turn, I could have kept going. Because I had 2 Sabos in my trash, the 2-cost and the 5-cost. Or maybe I only had 1 of the 5-cost. But it doesn't matter because I have 2 on the board. So I could literally just recycle them and grab an Ace as well and just keep the pressure on his life. Gecko Moria is a huge part of this deck. But as you saw right there, I won without it if you can get enough of the 2-cost guys. Okay, that's it for that. Let's go ahead and look at the deck list, and then we'll call it we'll wrap it up. So this is what I was running. This is completely legal to run on day 1 of ST13 being legal, which some people, I think some local gaming stores, I think most local gaming stores wait an entire week before it's legal, but I could be wrong. I have no idea. Don't quote me on that. Just ask your local gaming store, like, hey, can I buy the deck and play it today? And if they say yes, you're good, right? But otherwise, sometimes you have to wait a week. So yeah, because same idea with, I think if anyone's going to the Kissimmee Regional, which is tomorrow at the day of me recording this video, it's April 20th, so literally tomorrow at the time of me recording this video. If you're going to that, I do not believe this will be legal. I could be wrong. Again, don't quote me. I'm not sure. But I do not believe this deck will be legal. And I will be there tomorrow. So anyone who's going there, hope to see you there. Safe travels. And I hope I get to meet a bunch of cool people. You know, meet some people that watch the show. Or that watch the, not the show, the channel. Let me run through the list real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. This video's going way too long for what it is. I'm running 12 2K counters for Khalifa until we get Flampy, which is in 2 weeks. Khalifa was pretty good because it's a draw 2 trash 2. The -2 cost I guess is okay because you could hit a 7 with your Sabo, but I've never done that. That's a 9 Dawn play, by the way. I guess it could be less than a 9 Dawn play if you have like the 2 cost Sabo to combo it somehow. Not realistic. The point is this is a draw 2 trash 2 and a 2K counter. That's exactly what I used it for that last game, and it's what it's in the deck for until we get Flampy, because that's just a flat out draw 2. Pay 1, draw your top life, and draw a card from your deck. Don't even have to cycle. It's incredible. So this will immediately be replaced with Flampy. Everything else is 100% standard for what every other deck is running right now, other than the 5 cost Sabo. This gets replaced with a 5 cost Luffy. And that's it, guys. Like this deck, what you see here, if you have these cards, you know, you're done. Your entire deck is complete, and this is an S tier list going into OP07. So that's a good feeling. You know what I mean? I know for a lot of players are on a budget. I would say most players are on at least some type of budget. You know, myself included. Let me move my face one more time. Sorry, guys. There we go. There we go. I can at least see the cards when I mouse over them. This deck is going to cost, I think it's like $35 MSRP. Let me see. I should have it up over here. So that's the EB01 for where is ST13? Sorry, guys. Here it is. Yeah, it's the MSRP is $35, and you are going to need, where is it? Right there. You are going to need 2 of these. You're going to need 2 of these to get all the cards you need. So that's like a $70 investment. But after that, the only thing left is the, where's my list at? There we go. Is the Gecko Morias, the Sabos, and the Hioris. Oh, actually, look, perfect. It's these 3 cards like that are right in a row right here. Sabo, Gecko Moria, and Hiyori. Every other card comes in the starter deck. And I'm going to be honest, guys. You can probably, how do I say this? It won't be amazing, but you can play this deck without the Gecko Moria. It will not be S tier, but it will probably be A tier. Because as we saw, like, I mean, guys, just to give you guys a heads up, like the first list that we looked at here from way back, this is in last year, like December 23rd when OP06 was still in the East, and when ST13 just dropped, this is a list they were running, no Gecko Moria. Like 0 Gecko Moria, and the list was still doing fine. It got first place at a store battle. And let me see, I think the rest might have, no, this list as well, guys. So make sure, go to OnePieceTopDecks.com. Let me show you how to do it. Once you get to OnePieceTopDecks.com, this is what it looks like on the front page. Go over to deck list and go to OP06. See the middle one here? Don't click on OP07 unless you want to see those lists as well. Check out the Japan and Asia OP06 tab right here. And then you just scroll down a little bit. Deck profile, scroll to the bottom, click Luffy. And these bottom 2 lists aren't even running Gecko Moria. And this one got first place in a store battle as well without running Gecko Moria. Let's just see how far it goes before they change over. Okay, and then they finally change over to here, and so on. And the same thing with Hiyori. It's not an absolutely necessary card, but it is a very, very good card, guys. It is a very, very good card. Now, a card that I do think is mandatory for the deck, if you're trying to be if you're trying to have any semblance of like a competitive deck, Sabo's a must-have. Sabo, I don't think you can get around not having this card. Hiyori, you could probably get around having. It's not the most necessary thing in the world because you could literally, for your 2K counter package, you could actually run 4 Satori, 4 Virgo, and 4 Khalifa, like I was just running, or even Suru if you want extra like ways to reduce costs so you can hit bigger targets with your Sabo. That's an option. But generally speaking, I don't think this card can be replaced. And the same thing with Gecko Moria. You know, you're going to want to run that card. Get that card as soon as you can because it does take the deck to the next level. But like you see right here, guys, it's not like it's absolutely required. It really helps out. And you'll see as you play the deck more and more, I think you'll see if the deck feels like something's missing when you're not running Gecko Moria. All right, guys, that's about it. Let me go back to the deck list here. Like I said, to get... this is now the starter deck that I recommend new players get into the game with. Because, like, for $70, again, you don't quite... Sabo would be the first thing that a new player would have to get their hands on is Sabo. But for $70, you have a deck. You actually have 3 decks, right? You have 3 decks that can kind of span across blue, black, yellow, and red. And the more cards that they acquire, I don't know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just rambling. I do hope the price of the game goes down some because these cards are a little expensive at the time. Let me get let me bring up the market. We'll check them real quick. Okay. So let's look up Sabo. All right. I don't know why I capitalized that. It's like habit. Yeah, Sabos are up to $20 a pop, guys. I think Gecko Moria is the same, and I think Hiyori is the same. So I do hope the prices go down a little bit for the newer players trying to get into the game. 17 bucks basically, 18 bucks on Gecko Morias. Let's just call it 20 after tax. And then Hiyori, I think, is 15. I believe Hiyori was 15 last time I checked. And I do check it every now and then pretty frequently. So you're looking at, you know, the $70 for the starter deck is going to get you where you need to start, where you can start playing the game. And then over time, start building up to where you can get, you know, check the market, see what kind of trajectory cards are going, see what kind of patterns you're picking up on, and make your buying decisions from there. But $70 to enter a game for buying 2 of the ST13 starter decks, I think is pretty solid. Like, I think that's a pretty good price of entry for a game like this, and that will be 3 entire decks, by the way. Think about that. Like, you could play blue yellow one week, red yellow the next week, black yellow the next, and like pick which one you like the most, and then you can go from there. You might not even enjoy the black yellow one, right? You might not even enjoy black yellow Luffy. You might like red yellow Sabo better or blue yellow Ace better. And who knows, those decks might be cheaper. You know, you see what I'm trying to say. And of course, what I recommend every player do, if you're a new player listening to this and you made it this far, first of all, thank you. And second of all, make sure to check out the sim. It's, you know, I don't want to go down a whole spiel here, but there's a free simulator to play. Please check that out so you can just try out whatever deck you want and buy cards accordingly. You know, it just that's the best way to go for sure. It's a free simulator. And just message down in the comment section below if you need any help with that. Okay, I'm done, guys. Let me leave it on this to end on. I appreciate you guys making it this far. For the ones that did, you guys are the best. Please do not forget to like and subscribe if you have not already. And if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, anything like that, please do not hesitate to list it down in the comment section below. Until next time, guys. Peace.